Hello, everyone, and welcome to your first grammar lesson of the week. This grammar lesson is all about cohesive devices. Now, that might be something that some of you have heard of before. Uh, some of you might have even had as a writing target before, or some of you might have never heard of that before. And it's absolutely fine because we're going to talk about what they are now. So, what are cohesive devices? Well, cohesive devices are words or short phrases that link ideas or clauses. Okay, and just a reminder, a clause is a sentence or a fragment of a sentence. So, an independent clause is a full sentence, a sentence that stands on its own right. It has a subject, an object, a verb, and it makes sense when you read it out. But we also have subordinate clauses, don't we? Which are little extra bits of information as well. Um, so that's just a reminder about what clauses are. Moving back to cohesive devices. Cohesive devices, they could be anything really. They could be conjunctions, they could be connectives, they could be pronouns or adverbial phrases. Now, the word cohesive sort of means to hold things together or to stick things together. And the reason that we like cohesive devices in our work is because it helps things to flow nicely from one thing to the next. Now, a couple of weeks ago, you looked at time adverbials. Time adverbials are a type of cohesive device. They help the reader navigate their way around the problem or the paragraph or between the paragraphs or through the whole book. Okay. And I've just said there at the bottom, think how boring stories would be if they were just a bullet point list of all of the things that happen. Now, cohesive devices are going to help us to link the points of the plot. So I know that when we like to write our stories, especially those ones where we're using our imagination, we like to include lots and lots of action and lots of drama and lots of tension and lots of dialogue and all these sorts of things. But without the cohesive devices, it can be boring or it can be difficult to read. So that's what cohesive devices do. Let's look at an example. Here is a really basic version of the plot of Jack and the Beanstalk. Now, Jack and the Beanstalk is a very, very famous story, and I've said, oh, well, let's have a look at this. If you read this, if you went to the accelerated reader corner and you saw this as a story, would you recommend it to a friend? So, Jack and his mum are poor. Jack goes off and buys some beans. His mum chucks them out the window. The beanstalk grows. Jack goes up it. He finds lots of riches where he steals from a giant. He comes back down. Him and his mum are rich. The end. Is that a good story? It's a good plot, isn't it? It's the plot of an absolutely classic book. But is that a good story as it is? Would you go, oh, that was a great read. I'd love to read that again. The answer is probably no. So this is something that some of us do in our writing. We're fantastic at coming up with these ideas for stories, these plots that have all these exciting parts of them. But because we aren't using lots of cohesive devices, it just starts to feel like, and then this happens, and then this happens, and this happens, and this happens. It's pretty boring, right? Now, of course, cohesive devices are just one part of something we can do to help our writing flow. Okay, there are other things that we use as well to make our writing better, such as descriptive language and techniques such as simile, metaphor, personification, emotive imagery, all of those things. We use adjectives, don't we, describing words, and adverbs, words which describe verbs. We use dialogue to show characters. We don't only use dialogue just for the fun of it or just to directly talk to the reader. We can show things about our readers as well. We use our full range of punctuation and sentence types, and we use things like suspense and imagination and humour. Okay, just like all of these things that we're confident and we are comfortable using, cohesive devices is just another tool that help our writing to flow so the reader wants to keep on reading. And that is the key, isn't it? When we are writers, we want the reader to read our book and then to recommend it to a friend. So here are some examples of cohesive devices. What they often do is they link clauses together. sometimes you might see one even at the beginning of a sentence or at the beginning of a paragraph. So let's have a look at 3 different examples. The first example is a cohesive device which has been used to link 2 clauses. I love all kinds of sports, for example, cricket, football, and running. Okay, now a cohesive device doesn't always have to have a colon after it like it does in this first example. That's just because I've started a list afterwards. Now, I could have said that as 2 sentences, couldn't I? I love all kinds of sports. I love cricket, football, and running. That is less good than using a cohesive device. I like all kinds of sports, for example, cricket, football, and running. Now, that type of cohesive device is one which gives more information. It illustrates some more stuff about the point. It is illustrative. Now, next we have cohesive devices being used to talk about time. So these are time adverbial cohesive devices. For example, this second option. Firstly, I baked the cake. Subsequently, which means after that, we ate it. So you can see 2 cohesive devices used. Now, in our non-fiction writing, for example, writing instructions, for example, writing recounts or newspaper reports, or any kind of instructions, we use these types of cohesive devices a lot. We even use these in our science, don't we? When we are writing, sometimes our method first I did this, then I did that, or we might number them. But sometimes we'll be using cohesive devices. Cohesive devices, in this sense, help order the paragraph or order the writing. The last way that we might use a cohesive device is when one paragraph is finished and then we're going to start a new paragraph to talk about something else. So we're going to write something contrasting, something different. So when we're writing, for example, a balanced argument, this is the sort of thing that we might use. So we might have a big paragraph that ends with blah, 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 blah. And we thought that would be the end, new paragraph. However, we could not have been more wrong. So you can see there the cohesive device, however, is actually used to change the mood. It contrasts what came before it. Okay, it's different from what came before it. So there's all different types of examples of cohesive devices there. This is the slide that you're going to want to have open whilst you are doing your independent task. And let's have a look at that independent task now. Okay, challenge 1 is just a quick bit of definition. I want you to tell me what a cohesive device is and why you might want to use them. Okay, so you need to explain to me what, and we can go back to our original slide here, which explains what cohesive devices are. Please try and write it in your own words so me and Miss Lobo know that you have understood it, and then give me an example of why you might want to use them. Okay, so all the stuff that I've been talking about for the last 5 or 10 minutes. Challenge 2 is this table. It points out that there are 6 types of cohesive device. Those 6 types of cohesive device, that's the maths. Those 6 types of cohesive device are these: adding, sequencing, illustrating, comparing, qualifying, contrasting. And I've put those, you can see in the left-hand column of the table. What I want you to do is pick one. So I would suggest that you pick one that you know but is the least boring of the ones you know. Okay, because you will need to use it in a sentence. If everyone just picked and first, it's a little bit boring. Okay, so let's start with in the adding block. First, I might want to put in addition. So in my your choice bit here, I would put in addition. Then, so once you've picked which one of the conjunctions or cohesive devices you want to use, you need to use it. Now, it's going to be dependent on which one you pick, whether it comes right at the beginning of a sentence, whether it comes between 2 clauses in one long sentence, whether it comes at the beginning of a sentence and you have two sentences, or if it comes at the beginning of a paragraph, or if it comes at the end. It's going to be up to you how you use that cohesive device, as long as it is in there. So for each of those 6 options, the sequencing, illustrating, comparing, qualifying, and contrasting, you go back to the side, you pick one, and of course, those of you who like to expand your vocabulary, what you might want to do is, if there is one there that you have never seen before, maybe you want to have a look at it, try and work out what it means first. If you can't work out what it means, you could use a dictionary or even Google it to see, and then you could help yourself out that way. So that's going to help those people who really want a challenge. So there we go. That is your task. Please don't forget task 1, challenge 1, which is just a quick definition and why you might want to use it in your writing, and then picking 6 different cohesive devices and then writing them in a sentence in context so they make sense. Over to you.